Yes, the man of God predicts earthquakes, giving dates, times, and locations. Saint Parthenios of Chios was such a person with divine graces of prophecy. He even predicted the great earthquake of the island of Chios of the Aegean Sea in Greece with absolute temporal accuracy. Saint Parthenios of Chios, the seismologist and seismograph of Christ. Like Saint Paisios, a simple monk who was worthy of the prescient and prophetic predictions, predicted the great earthquake of Chios, the deadliest in recent modern history, in the last 200 years with over 3,000 victims. He was slandered and exiled, like Saint Nectarius and two others, a seer of the uncreated light from childhood. So this Saint Parthenius, the new of Chios, emerged as an exorcist. He foretold his end with a vision given to him from the Virgin Mary. He was called in a dream by the apostle St. Mark to renovate his church, which was transformed into his monastery. Saint Macarius of Notaras predicted the dissolution of the bonds of his mother's childlessness, and that he would come into the world as a monk and a saint. His holiness was confessed by even the Turkish gendarme who went to arrest him, while in the end he was so well received that the inhabitants of Chios, wherever he stepped, collected the soil as a talisman. The soil that he stepped on, that is Saint Parthenios of Chios. Saint Parthenios of Chios intervenes today to take part in the debate about prophetic lust and prophetic phobia. He proved with his life that a man of God also predicts earthquakes and even gives an exact time frame and locale definition. He was born in the village of Daphno in Chios in 1815 to pious parents, Michael and Antonia Frangoscufi, or Many. Thus we have his picture here. St. Parthenius' parents, Antonius Frangoscufi, or Many, and Antonia Pantellara, lived in Daphno in Chios. They were old and had no son. They were barren, in other words. They took refuge with Saint Macarius Notaras, who was then a hermit in Chios, and asked for his prayers. The leader of the Kolivadas urged them to invoke the holy new martyr Polydoros, who was his spiritual child, assuring them that they would have a son who would become a support for many sorrowing souls. Regarding his birth, Saint Macarius of Corinth, the Notara, who eventually became an ascetic in his beloved Chios, prophesied to the mother of the Saint Parthenius, who was then of advanced age, the following. She said to her, "You will bear a boy, you will name him Polydoros, he will become a monk, and through him many souls will be saved." From a child, a visionary, a luminary of uncreated light, Polydoros was born. Divine grace visited him already from that tender age. Praying before the icon of the Holy Mother of God, the Theotokos, he saw divine light illuminating him. As his biographer Archimandrite Joachim recounts, Polydoros did not seem to have an inclination for monasticism. He became engaged to a girl and left to work as a sailor. However, returning from a trip, he learned that his fiancée had died. Unable to bear the sudden separation, he went to her grave and dug it up to see her for the last time. However, he saw the decomposition that had already begun, and then he realized the futility of worldly life and the transient of this present life. He started trading and at the same time became engaged at the age of 20. In a year, his fiancée dies. Returning from a trip, he visits her grave, and opening the slab, he sees her shriveled body full of worms, and philosophizes about death and the futility of worldly things, and he decides to abandon them for good. Polydoros went to the new monastery of Chios as a novice. In a short time he was ordained a monk with the name Parthenios. He takes the great angelic schema at the new monastery of Chios, founded in the 10th century, and is renamed from Polydoros to Parthenios. In the register of the new monastery, dated July 5th, 1843, this is written: "The Gero Parthenius himself of Frangoscufi's 200, He was not even 35 years old, and they called him Parthenios. In other words, the elder. They called him an elder. He was so wise. His call from the Apostle Mark in a dream. He discovers a steep cave on Mount Parthenios, into which he decides to descend. In a dream, he sees the Holy Apostle Mark and the evangelist Mark in a monastic garb, calling him neighbor and inviting him to come in and find him. Indeed, just a few meters above his place of practice, he discovered a deserted small little chapel in the name of Saint Mark, and then he began to build a small monastery in the name of Saint Mark the Evangelist. Soon, a fairly large number of monks flocked to him. Precognition, and he prophesied the earthquake. According to the testimonies of his spiritual children and their descendants, the saint had been granted the gift of precognition. He foresaw the death of a young man at the age of his monkhood and urged him to prepare. In 1881, on March 22nd, the deadliest earthquake in Greece in the last 200 years occurred in Chios with 3,500 victims, and the saint predicted it. As his biographer Archimandrite Joachim reports, one day the monks of St. Mark saw their elder gazing ecstatically at the sky. They understood that he was seeing something. When he recovered from the ecstasy, he tearfully told them that he had seen a black cloud covering the city of Chios and the southern villages. He understood that some great evil was about to happen. A few days later, while he was praying, he heard a thunderous voice telling him, "Virgin, I will not hide from you that Chios, your homeland, will be destroyed." Not virgin, but Parthenia. Okay, that means virgin in Greek. Parthenia, it means God was talking to Partheni. "I will not hide from you that Chios, your homeland, will be destroyed. It will be shaken by a terrible earthquake. Nothing will remain standing and nothing will change my will, which I have not hidden from my servant." So the saint began to warn the pilgrims from September 1880 that on March 22nd, 1881, Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, there would be a terrible earthquake. He gives not only the date but also the time. "And I tell you," he told them, "so that you may repent and pray, but also so that you may be protected on that day." And the phobia of prophecy. Hence the saint had information and transmitted it, gave exactly the time stamp of the earthquake and the local determination. This is for some who propagate publicly that from a position of principle and expose that the prophetic does not exist in this century, and that the prophet did not give a time frame, but he did. Now the price of truth, history repeats itself. The inhabitants of the island of Chios were terrified by the prophecy, and the governor, thinking that in this way he would ensure order, exiled Parthenia to Smyrna of Turkey. Boarding the ship, the saint told the Christians who were mourning the separation that they would quickly bring him back. Before the ship reached Smyrna, the first earthquake occurred. The people rose up demanding to recall the saint from exile, and the Turkish governor was forced to retreat and recall him. Let's remember that all these islands in Greece were still under Turkish Ottoman rule. Greece did not have independence yet. That happened later on. Indeed, in March, the prophecy was fulfilled exactly at the time predicted by St. Parthenius, March 22nd, 1881, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The War of Independence in Greece started in 1824, by the way. Now, the people of Chios, who already revered Parthenius as a saint, after this honored him even more, even collecting the soil that his feet stepped on as a talisman. This means saint, holy, not only the soil that covers him, but also the soil that he stepped on and walked on, a place that is holy. Now, on the day of the destruction of Chios by the deadly earthquake of March 22nd, 1881, 1821. 1820 was the Wars of Independence, so this was parts of Greece were already independent. I guess the island of Chios was not yet independent. So, the deadly earthquake of March 22nd, 1881, the saint lamentably cried out, "A great mountain will fall and strike the snow." He even prevented a layman named Constantine from abandoning the monastery at the time of the earthquake. Only when he had had enough did he tell him, "Go now and untie your wife and children, being careful to find his wife and children, being careful not to hit them, for they are all alive. I guess they were under the rubble. And indeed, Constantine found his family safe and sound. His sermon to those who rushed to the monastery for help was, "Repent, my children, or Chios will sink." The Lord revealed to him the secrets of the hearts of many believers and made it easier for them at the time of the confession of sins to confess. Although he was just a monk, he had the gift of a confessor. He sent them ready. But they scandalized him, they slandered him. His holy life aroused by envy of some who influenced the then metropolitan, the Bishop of Chios, against him, St. Macarius before St. Nectarius, both Neomanitas. Two reasons for his persecution. One, St. Parthenios, still a young monk, wanted to become an ascetic in the Pandethos region, which belonged to the new monastery of Chios. The abbot Meletius Fluras not only did not allow him to do so, but also reported him to the Bishop of Chora, Gregory Constantinidis. And two, the bishop, fearing that suspicions might arise in the Turkish administration that the buildings could be used against the Turks in the event of war, reported the actions of the saint to the Turkish commander. He sent a sergeant to lead the monk Parthenios to plead his case before him. The sergeant, a simple and well-intentioned man, went armed and met the young ascetic Parthenios. "Are you the monk? Do you do the davaduri? Where is your monastery?" Davaduri means, are you causing all this mess, this chaos in our area? The saint showed him a cave and a small dry stone chapel. "Alas, alas, such poverty! Are they going to send you to a prison of Guzel for you?" The prison would be better than his cell that he was staying at. That's what the sergeant was telling him. Now the ascetic learned the purpose of his coming and begged him to leave the next morning. The Turk showed understanding and asked him, "And where will I stay for the night?" And Parthenius said, "There, in the cave." "Okay, that's enough. My heart is breaking." "Do you want to stay here in the chapel?" Parthenius asked him. "I want to, but I will sleep outside. Inside is a sin. You will sleep inside. The church is yours." They ate something poor, and they took out and offered some raki, it's like some kind of a vodka. "I don't drink," he said. "Does it make me drink here where the Virgin Mary is?" It does make you drink." He drank a little and fell asleep, and at midnight he woke up, as if he heard a murmur. He approached the chapel, leaned against its door, and remained speechless. In the trembling light of the lamp, the saint prayed. However, he did not touch the ground and was bathed in a joyful light. He had raised his hands, and the light radiated around him. This is how Christ is. In the light of Christ, he's everything. Even the pagans saw it. In a short time, he lowered his hands, and the light disappeared. The monk prayed for his unworthiness and cried, and the Turk listened to the crying, ecstatic, a silent, quiet cry between the words of the prayer. As soon as he left, the Zaptese left, upset, alone for the country. He did not dare to disturb the saint and take him with him. We're talking about the Turkish sergeant. The despot was surprised. "Where is the monk?" he asked. "Despot Asfendi, the monk is a man of God," said the Turk, and related what he had seen. The bishop understood and learned what he wanted. He now sends another gendarme who brings the saint to Hora the same day. "Are you Parthenius?" he asked him. "Me," he replied, deeply repentant. "They accuse you. They have a right. The area is theirs." "What are you doing on the mountain?" "I pray," Parthenius said. "To which saint?" "To Saint Simeon, the new theologian." The name of the saint shook the bishop. He saw the uncreated light, "But you see it too," he said, and fixed his gaze on him. "Me, the sinner?" the saint protested, ready to cry. He does not humiliate. It's possible for the other to see the saint in a state of unknowable grace. The bishop looked at him carefully. He discerned in this monk a divine power. He felt his holiness shaking him. "Well, my child, go to the good, walk as you pray, and remember me in your prayers." and knew Parthenios casts out demons. In 1948, the Bishop of Chios, Stephanos, invoked the prayers of Saint Parthenios and placing his holy relics, which periodically exude a gentle fragrance, on a demon-possessed nun. A nun was demon-possessed. Can you imagine? I guess nuns and monks can become demon-possessed. So, the bishop in 1948 placed some relics of Saint Parthenios on the demon-possessed nun, expelled a powerful demon that had been tormenting her for 17 years. In 1952, Angela Manidis, daughter of Stamatios and Maria, at the age of 20, was freed from a demon and regained her hearing after bowing to the saint's tomb. He foretold his death with a vision given to him by the Virgin Mary. 45 years of strict asceticism had passed. He had been an ascetic since he was 23 years old. He was now 68 years old. One night, as he slept peacefully in his damp and wild cave, a dream filled him with joy, and he saw the Virgin Mary, the Mother of God, the Theotokos. Virgin, she said, Parthenios, she said to him, in 3 days your resting place will be ready. The saints are waiting for you. The saint woke up. He thought he was still hearing the heavenly message from the mouth of the Virgin. Have I ever done anything good in my life, he said, and the Lady of the Angels has come to inform me of my departure? Thus his humility urged him to say. He got up, he announced it to the monks. In 3 days I will die, he said. On the third day, December 8, 1883, he lay down on his deathbed without any illness to torment him. He received the Immaculate Mysteries, in other words, he had Holy Communion. Where shall we bury you, they asked him. Take me by the leg and throw me into a ravine, he answered them, out of humility, just as St. Anthony did, to a similar question when he was about to fall asleep in his dormition. Later, as he saw the saints and angels who had come to accompany him to the abode of the rejoicing, he would say, Welcome, my lords. I expect the resurrection of the dead, were his last words. Saint Parthenios fell asleep peacefully December 8, 1883, and was buried in the narthex of the humble Catholicos of his monastery. During his funeral procession, many sick people who embraced his relics regained their health, while a certain Neomonite monk, on the night of the saint's repose, saw a luminous path in the sky from St. Mark to the heavenly arches, with angels kneeling at one end and the other, and St. Parthenius passing through the middle, accompanied by a chorus of ancient and new ascetics. And this is from St. Parthenios of Chios, the seismologist and seismographer of Christ. P.S. I did not know of his existence, or had I not kept him in the cloud of saints of Hellenism. Yesterday, on the day of his feast, I prayed to St. Polytheros 2 or 3 times a day, and today to St. Parthenios, whom Polytheros canonized as Parthenios, appeared to me. How humble the saints are, one refers to you to the other, Polytheros the gift. St. Parthenios of Chios, ascetic of St. Mark, is related to the province of Morphu, as the apostle and evangelist Mark comes to the kingdom of Theomorphu. And together with 2 other apostles from the 70, Timon and Rhodon, there in the Sea of Limnitis, they meet Eusebius the Roman, and this man becomes Saint Eusebius, the first hierarch of the entire wider area of the diocese, now including Solo, which is one that gave birth to the much newer metropolis of Morphu. I didn't know about this saint either, and each one of us, is born to be a saint. It's just us having the will to say yes to Christ. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.